Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive deep into a kind of tricky emotion,
Yeah.
envy, right? We're going all in today using some interesting sources I found. We've got some Buddhist teachings. Those are always insightful. And then for something a little different, some blog posts about, get this, personal styling.
I'm intrigued. It's amazing how different perspectives can illuminate such a universal experience. And envy, it's everywhere, right? Subtle, sneaky.
It is. Actually, speaking of subtle, one of the blogs, Sterling Personal Styling, made a point about envy and jealousy that really got me thinking. It's like, I always kind of use those words interchangeably,
It's a common mix-up. But they made a good distinction, right? Jealousy, that's all about fear of loss, like someone's going to take what's yours. But envy, it's pure wanting what someone else has.
Totally. That feeling when you see someone living your dream and it's like, why not me? Admiration, but with this
Get a guy.
bite to it, right?
Exactly. And that's where it gets tricky. Because envy doesn't always come out swinging. It can be so subtle.
Which is why I found the Buddhist stuff so helpful. They break down these signs of envy that you might totally miss otherwise.
Oh, yeah, like in the Buddhist wisdom video, the one about shallow compliments and how your actions don't match up with your words. That hit home for me.
You mean like someone praises your new job, but then immediately starts listing all the reasons it might suck?
Spot on. It's that false kindness, They can't quite hide that little tinge of, envy.
So confusing though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because on the surface, it seems nice, but something feels off.
It's because deep down, they're trying to dim your shine, even while pretending to be supportive.
And then there's that classic move, straight out of the Buddhist wisdom video, downplaying your achievements. Like when you're excited about something and they're all, it wasn't that hard, or anyone could do that.
Oh, I know that one. So frustrating. It's like they can't stand to just let you have your moment.
Right. As if your hard work doesn't even count.
And that often leads to the next sneaky tactic. They try to explain away your success. Suddenly it's all luck, right place, right time, anything but your actual effort.
Yeah, you were just lucky is the worst. It's like, come on, some things are earned.
But that's how they protect their ego. If it's all luck, then they don't have to feel bad about themselves.
True, but it's tough to see that when you're the one they're doing it to,
Definitely. That's why knowing these signs is so important. It helps you see the situation for what it is and, protect yourself from that negative energy.
Okay, so we've got these subtle put-downs.
Yeah.
Right? But then there's the constant comparing and competing. Ugh, that one wears me out.
I hear you. The Buddhist wisdom video, they talked about how it's like every conversation becomes this ego battle. Someone always has to be one up.
Exactly. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Like you can't just enjoy each other's wins or share experiences without it turning into this weird, unspoken competition.
It's the opposite of supportive, right? It erodes genuine connection. No one really wins in that game.
And then, sometimes that competitive energy morphs into something even sneakier. Criticism disguised as advice. Ugh, that one's hard to spot.
It is hard to know if it's genuine concern or something else. But the Buddhism Bliss video, they had some good examples of the kind of phrases to watch for. Stuff like, are you sure this is the best path? Or maybe you're rushing into this.
Oh yeah, those little digs disguised as helpful suggestions. It can really mess with your confidence over time.
It's about planting those seeds of doubt, even while appearing to be on your side.
Totally manipulative. So we've hit 5 pretty big signs, but there were a couple more interesting ones that came up in the other sources too. Bukola Ori, that video talked about straight up imitation as a potential sign of envy.
That's a strange one, isn't it? Like they're trying to absorb your essence, become you almost.
Yeah, it's happened to me. It's unnerving when someone starts copying your style, your ideas, even your little quirks.
Like they're trying to steal a piece of you because they envy what you have, who you are,
And then in the Sterling Personal Styling blog, there was a section on gossiping and talking smack as another possible red flag.
Oh, classic envy move. Spreading rumors, talking behind your back.
Yeah.
It's all about trying to bring you down because they can't stand to see you succeed.
Yep. Misery loves company, right? If they can't shine, they want to dim your light too.
It's sad, really. And the blog also pointed out something pretty dark. Happiness at your misfortunes. That subtle satisfaction when you mess up.
Oof. Yeah. That one stings, but it really shows how twisted envy can be.
It's a reminder that envy is ultimately a form of suffering. For everyone involved.
And then there's the silent treatment. Sudden withdrawal, avoidance. It's another way envious people try to punish you or something.
Definitely passive-aggressive. They're not dealing with their feelings directly, just letting that resentment simmer.
So we've got a pretty solid list of signs to watch for now. But what's even more interesting to me is understanding the why behind it all?
Yeah.
What's driving these envious behaviors? What's going on in their heads? So we've spent a good chunk of time uncovering all those sneaky signs of envy. It's kind of crazy how easily it can weasel its way into our everyday interactions without us even realizing it.
Right. Recognizing it, that's the first step to like dealing with it effectively. But now let's dig a little deeper, shall we? I'm curious about the WHY. Why do people act this way? What's the motivation behind it all?
Yeah, the psychology of envy is fascinating.
Yeah.
And that Sterling Personal Styling blog, they really get into it, pointing out some pretty common root causes.
Insecurity, right. That was a big one they highlighted. When someone feels insecure, like about themselves, their worth, their abilities, it's easy to see someone else's success as a threat.
That makes total sense. If you're already feeling kind of shaky about your own place in the world, seeing someone else shine brightly can amplify those insecurities, right?
Exactly. And, you know, it's not just about individual insecurity either. Our society, it kind of pushes this idea of scarcity, right? Like, there's not enough success or recognition or happiness to go around.
Oh, I see what you mean. So we end up in this constant state of comparison, always measuring ourselves against others, and inevitably feeling like we're coming up short.
It's like we're conditioned to compete, you know?
Yeah.
So deeply ingrained that we don't even realize it's influencing our behavior. We might think we're genuinely happy for someone, but deep down there's that little voice whispering, why them and not me?
And that's where the Buddhist teachings offer a really interesting perspective. They suggest that envy often comes from this place of inner turmoil, a lack of peace and self-acceptance.
It's not just about wanting what someone else has. It's about like feeling inadequate in ourselves. And that lack of self-acceptance can show up as resentment, bitterness, this constant need to prove ourselves.
It sounds like envy is almost a symptom of deeper suffering, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And recognizing that is huge, EB, because it allows us to approach envy with more compassion, both for ourselves and for the people exhibiting those behaviors.
So how do we move from this understanding of envy to actually dealing with it? It's a pretty inevitable part of life, right? Whether we're struggling with it ourselves or encountering it in others.
It is, but don't worry. Our sources offer some practical advice. First things first, protecting our own energy.
Because let's be real. Envy can be incredibly draining, right? Both for the person who's feeling it and the person on the receiving end. It's like this swirling vortex of negativity.
Love that image. And the Buddhist wisdom video, they talk about this idea of raising your vibration. It's about consciously shifting your energy to a more positive frequency.
Okay, gotta be honest. When I first heard about raising your vibration, I was a little skeptical. Can you break that down for me? Like, what does that actually look like?
It's about understanding that, you know, everything is connected. Our thoughts, emotions, actions, they all create these ripples of energy. The Buddhist teachings emphasize this interconnectedness.
So if we're constantly dwelling on those negative thoughts and comparisons, we're actually lowering our energetic frequency and attracting more negativity into our lives.
Exactly. But the good news is we can also consciously raise our vibration by cultivating more positive states of mind. The video even mentions specific things like listening to certain frequencies of music, 528 hertz and 432 hertz.
Really? So it's like these frequencies can help harmonize our energy, neutralize those negative vibes.
It's not just about the sound, it's about the intention, right? Choosing to engage with something that promotes peace and harmony can have a profound impact on our energy.
So it's kind of like an energetic cleanse.
Yeah.
Washing away that negativity and creating space for more positive energy to flow in.
Love that analogy. And it connects to another important strategy, maintaining a positive mindset. It's not about denying the negative, but about consciously choosing to focus on the good, on gratitude, on what lifts you up.
The Buddhism Bliss video really hammers this home, reminding us that our thoughts create our reality.
It's so true. Not just some woo-woo concept. It's about recognizing the power of our minds. If we're constantly feeding ourselves negativity and comparisons, guess what? We're more likely to attract those experiences.
So it's almost like we're building this energetic shield of positivity, making us less susceptible to those envious vibes.
Love it. And alongside that shield, the Buddhist teachings emphasize detachment.
Ah, detachment. Such an interesting and often misunderstood concept.
It's not about being cold or unfeeling. It's about loosening our grip on outcomes, not seeking external validation to determine our worth.
So if someone tries to put us down or dismiss our achievements, it doesn't hit as hard because our sense of self isn't dependent on their approval.
Exactly. We're grounded in our own self-worth, recognizing that it's inherent, not something we have to earn or prove.
And this brings us to one of the most powerful strategies I encountered. cultivating compassion.
This is where we go beyond simply protecting ourselves.
Oh.
We recognize the suffering in the other person.
The Buddhist teachings, they encourage us to see envy as a sign of inner turmoil. The person who's envious is experiencing pain, a sense of lack, a disconnect from their true nature.
It doesn't mean we condone their behavior, but it allows us to move from a place of anger or resentment to a place of empathy.
It's about recognizing that their actions are often driven by their own unhealed wounds, their own insecurities.
And sometimes that understanding can be the key to diffusing a tense situation.
Now, as much as we might try to cultivate compassion, sometimes setting boundaries is necessary, right?
Yeah.
Especially when dealing with people who are intentionally trying to harm us.
Absolutely. And the Bukula Ori video was pretty straight up about it. Avoid envious people. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for ourselves is create some distance from someone who's constantly trying to bring us down.
It's not about being mean, but about prioritizing our own well-being. We can't pour from an empty cup, as they say.
Exactly. Protecting our energy is essential for our own growth.
So we've talked about dealing with envy in others, but what about when we're the ones struggling with those feelings? It can be tough to even admit to ourselves that we're feeling envious, so we've really gone deep on how to spot envy in other people and like the psychology behind it. We even got some good tips for protecting ourselves from all that negative energy. But now, let's talk about something that might be a little awkward.
Yeah.
What about when it's US? What about when we're the ones feeling envious?
It's so important to talk about this side of it too, right? I mean, we've all felt that pang of envy at some point, haven't we? It's a normal human emotion, especially in this day and age where we're constantly bombarded with images of like everyone else's perfect lives.
Yeah, it's true. It's like we're hardwired to compare ourselves to others now.
Yeah.
Social media especially, it makes it so easy to fall into that trap of feeling like everyone else is achieving more, traveling more, just, I don't know, being more than us.
One of the videos we watched, the one from Buddhist Wisdom, actually addressed this directly. They said, it's okay to feel envy. It's human, right? It's what we do with that envy that matters. Trying to pretend it's not there or like shove it down, it only makes it worse.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So like, where do we even begin? If we notice those feelings creeping in, what's the first step to, dealing with it in a healthy way?
Awareness is key. Just noticing the feeling without judging it. Recognizing when those thoughts, those comparisons start to spiral.
So instead of beating ourselves up for feeling envious, we just kind of go, okay, I'm feeling envious right now. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And, once you've acknowledged it, a really powerful shift can happen when you try to reframe that comparison as inspiration.
So instead of focusing on what we lack, we look at the person we envy and think, okay, what can I learn from them? What qualities or actions help them get to where they are?
Use their success as a roadmap, a source of motivation. Instead of seeing it as a threat, you see it as proof that what they've accomplished is possible. Maybe their journey can give you some ideas for your own right.
So it's like turning envy into, a signpost. It's pointing us towards something we might want to achieve too.
I like that. And speaking of reframing, another great tip from the Buddhist teachings is cultivating gratitude. When we focus on what we already have, the good stuff in our own lives, it helps shift our perspective from lack to abundance.
It's like that saying, comparison is the thief of joy, right? When we're so busy measuring ourselves against others, we forget to appreciate all the amazing things we already have.
Gratitude is a powerful antidote to envy. It helps us reconnect with the richness that already exists in our lives instead of fixating on what we think is missing.
But what if those envious feelings just keep coming back? Even after we've tried shifting to inspiration and gratitude.
That's a good sign that it might be time to look a little deeper. What are the roots of those feelings? Are there any insecurities or self-esteem issues that are fueling that envy? Have we maybe internalized some messages that make us feel like we're not good enough?
It's like peeling back the layers, right?
Yeah.
If envy keeps showing up, it could be a sign that there's some deeper inner work to be done.
Totally. And luckily, there are tons of resources for that. Therapy, self-help books, meditation. The important thing is to be kind to ourselves and approach it with curiosity rather than judgment.
It's also good to remember that envy, even though it feels yucky, doesn't have to be purely negative, right? It can actually be a pretty powerful motivator.
Absolutely. If you find yourself envying someone's success, let it fuel your own ambition. Use that energy to get clear on your goals, take action, and create the life you want.
It's about channeling that energy into something positive and creative, not letting it fester and turn into resentment.
I love that. And at the end of the day, Whether we're dealing with envy in ourselves or in others, it really comes down to cultivating a mindset of abundance, don't you think? It's recognizing that there's enough success, enough happiness, enough fulfillment for everyone. Someone else's achievements don't diminish your worth or your potential.
It's about celebrating each other, learning from each other, and supporting each other's growth.
What if, instead of letting envy tear us down, we used it as a way to connect, to empower each other? Something to think about.
I love that. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of envy. It's been quite a journey.
It has. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Keep diving deep and keep exploring.